Welcome back, listeners, to Sandman Stories Presents, a folklore podcast where I read you to sleep or until the next story. I'm your host, Dustin. Today we are back in the book of Georgian folklore written down by Marjory Wardrop. In the first story, a talking snake gets a man rich. Will the snake also get rewarded? And in the second story, with echoes of an Armenian story, a stingy brother leaves his sibling without any food. Will he be punished for his greed? Well, we'll find out. Okay, let's begin. The Serpent and the Peasant. There was once a happy king. Great or small, maid or man, everyone was happy in his kingdom. Everyone was joyful and glad. One time this monarch saw a vision. In his dream there hung from a ceiling in his house a fox suspended by its tail. He awoke, but he could not see what the dream signified. He assembled his viziers, but they also could not divine what the dream foretold. Then he said, "Assemble all my kingdom together, perhaps someone can interpret it." On the third day all the people of the kingdom assembled in the king's palace. Among others came a poor peasant. In one place he had to travel along a footpath. The path on both sides was shut in by rocky mountains. When the peasant arrived there, he saw a serpent lying on the path, stretching its neck and sticking out its tongue. When the peasant went near, the serpent called out, "Good day. Where are you going, peasant?" The peasant told him what was the matter. The serpent said, "Do not fear him. Give me your word that what the king gives, you will share with me, and I will teach you." The peasant rejoiced, gave his word, and swore, saying, "I will bring you all that the king presents to me, if you will aid me in this matter." The serpent said, "I shall divide it in halves, half will be yours. When you see the king, say this: the fox meant this, that in the kingdom there is some cunning, hypocrisy, and treachery." The peasant went, he approached the king, and told him what the serpent had said. The king was very pleased, and gave him great presents. The peasant did not return by that way, so that he might not share with the serpent, but went by another path. Some time passed by, and the king saw another vision. In his dream, a naked sword hung suspended from the roof. The king this time sent a man quickly for the peasant, and asked him to come. The peasant was very uneasy. There was nothing for it. The peasant went by the same footpath as before. He came to the place where he saw the serpent before, but now the serpent was there no more. He cried out, "Oh, serpent, come here one moment, I need you." He did not cease until the serpent came. It said, "What do you want? What distresses you?" The peasant answered, "Thus and thus is the matter, and I should like some aid." The serpent replied, "Go tell the king that the naked sword means war. Now enemies are intriguing within and without. He must prepare for battle and attack." The peasant thanked the serpent and he went. He came and told the king, even as the serpent had commanded. The king was pleased. He began to prepare for war and gave the peasant many great gifts. Now the peasant went by that same path where the serpent was waiting. The serpent said, "Now give me the half you have promised." The peasant replied, "Half? Certainly not. I shall give you a black stone and a burning cinder." He drew out his sword and he pursued the snake. The snake retreated into a hole, but the peasant followed it and cut off its tail with his sword. Some time passed and the king again saw a vision. In this vision, a slain sheep was hanging from the roof. The king quickly sent a man for the peasant. The peasant was now very much afraid, and he said, "How can I approach the king?" Formerly the serpent had taught him, but now it could no longer do this. For its goodness he had wounded it with the sword. Nevertheless he went by that same footpath. When he came to the place where the serpent had been, he cried out, "Oh, serpent, come here one moment. I want to ask you something." The serpent came. The man told him of his grief. The serpent said, "If you give me half of what the king gives you, I shall tell you." He promised and swore. The serpent said, This is a sign that now everywhere peace falls on all. The people have become like quiet, gentle sheep." The peasant thanked him and went on his way. When he came to the king, he spoke as the serpent had instructed him. The king was exceedingly pleased and gave him even greater presents. The peasant returned by the way where the serpent was waiting. He came to the serpent, divided everything he had received from the king, and said, "You have been patient with me. Now I will give you even what was given me before by the king." He humbly asked forgiveness for his former offenses. The serpent said, "Be not grieved nor troubled. It certainly was not your fault. The first time, when all the people were entirely deceitful, there was treachery and hypocrisy in the land. You too were a deceiver, for in spite of your promise, you went home by another way. The second time, when there was war everywhere, quarrels and assassinations, you too did quarrel with me and cut off my tail. But now, when peace and love have fallen on all, you bring me gifts and share all with me. Go, brother, may the peace of God rest with you. I do not want your wealth." And the serpent went away and cast itself into its hole. The end. Okay, and story number 2, The Two Brothers. Once upon a time there were 2 brothers. Each of them possessed 10 loaves of bread. They said, "Let us go and seek our fortune." So they arose and went forth. When they had gone a little way, they were hungry. One brother said to the other, "Come, let us eat your bread first, then we can eat mine." And he agreed, and they took his loaves and ate. And they afterwards went on their way. And they traveled for some time in this manner. At last, when these 10 loaves were finished, the brother who had first spoken said, "Now, my brother, you can go your way, and I shall go mine. You have no loaves left, and I will not let you eat my bread." So saying, he left him to continue his journey alone. He went on and came to a mill in the thick forest. He saw the miller and said, "For the love of God, let me stay here tonight." The miller answered, "Brother, it is a very terrible thing to be here at night. As you see, even I go elsewhere. Presently wild beasts will assemble in the woods and probably come here." "Have no fear for me, I will stay here. The beasts cannot kill me," answered the boy. The miller tried to dissuade him not to endanger his life. But when he found his arguments were of no avail, he rose and went home. The boy crept inside the hopper of the mill. There appeared, from no one knows where, a big bear. He was followed by a wolf, then a jackal, and they all made a great noise in the mill. They leaped and bounded just as if they were having a dance. He was terrified and trembling from fear. He lay down quaking all over in the hopper. At last the bear said, "Come, let each of us tell something he has seen or heard." "We shall tell our tales, but you must begin," cried his companions. The bear said, "Well, on a hill that I know dwells a mouse. This mouse has a great heap of money, which he spreads out in the sunshine. If anyone knew of this mouse's hole, and went there on a sunny day when the money was spread out, and struck the mouse with a twig and killed it, he would become possessed of great wealth." "That is not wonderful," said the wolf. "I know a certain town where there is no water, and every mouthful has to be carried a great distance, and an enormous price is paid for it. The inhabitants do not know that in the center of their town, under a certain stone, is beautiful pure water. Now, if anyone knew of this, and would roll away that stone, he would obtain great wealth." "Oh, that is nothing," said the jackal. "I know of a king who only has one daughter, and she has been an invalid for 3 years. Quite a simple remedy would cure her." If she were bathed in a bath of beech leaves, she would be healed. You have no idea what a fortune anyone would get if he only knew this." When they had spoken thus, day began to dawn. The bear, the wolf, and the jackal went away into the wood. The boy came out of the hopper, gave his thanks to God, and went to the mouse's hole, of which Bear had spoken. He arrived and saw that the story was true. There was the mouse with the money spread out. He stole up noiselessly, and taking twigs in his hand, he struck the mouse until it turned into dust, then gathered up the money. Then he went to the waterless town, rolled away the stone, and behold, streams of water flowed forth. He received a reward for this, and set out for the kingdom which the jackal had spoken. He arrived and inquired of the king, "What will you give me if I cure your daughter?" The king replied, "If you can do this, I will give you my daughter to marry." The youth prepared the remedy, made the princess bathe in it, and she was cured. The king rejoiced greatly, gave him the maiden in marriage, and appointed him heir to the kingdom. This story reached the ears of the youth's brother. He went on, and it came to pass that he found his brother. He asked him, "How and by what cunning has this happened?" The fortunate youth told him in all detail. "I also shall go and stay at that mill for a night or two." His brother used many entreaties to dissuade him, and when he would not listen, he said, "Well, go if you will, but I warn you again, it's very dangerous." However, he would not be persuaded, and he went away. He crept into the hopper and was there all night. From some place or another arrived the former guests, the bear, the wolf, and the jackal. The bear said, "That day when I told you my story, the mouse was killed and all the money was taken away." The wolf said, "And the stone was rolled away in the waterless town of which I spoke." "And the king's daughter was cured," added the jackal. "Then perhaps someone was listening when we talked in here," said the bear. "Perhaps someone is here now," shrieked his companions. "Then let us go and look. Certainly no one shall listen again," said the three. And they looked in all the corners. They sought and sought everywhere. At last, the bear looked into the hopper and saw the trembling boy. He dragged him out and tore him to pieces. The end. Wow, I really liked that first story, but I didn't care for the violence against the snake. And the second story reminded me of a story from Armenia where the guy spends all night in the mill. It's almost like the same story, and like I always say, it's because of shared storytelling. I like how one brother was kind and rewarded, while the other one was stingy and was not rewarded. And the podcast shoutout is to the Extraordinary Rap Podcast, formerly the Weird Rap Podcast, hosted by producer The Mole. This show has some of the best outsider and underground rap. It's a beautiful look into rap that isn't on the radio. And so if you like his show as much as I do, go and give it a like, a rating, and a review. And maybe go check it out on the new Good Pods app. And the listener shout out is to Margate in the United Kingdom. Here's what Google says about them. Margate is a town on England's southeast coast. It's known for its sandy beach. Near the Harbour Armstone Pier, the modern Turner Contemporary Art Gallery has rotating exhibitions. Dreamland Margate is an amusement park with vintage rides. Millions of seashells decorate the shell's grottos and underground passages. In a former police station in the old town, the Margate Museum has local history displays. Thank you, Google. And so, of course, I would love to visit there someday. And so, to my listener in Margate, I say, thank you and good night.